So, first thing, we got Sri Durga, pretty amazing album, extremely amazing album. And now you're working on, what's the new album?
Krishna Lila.
Oh, great. And so that's based on Lord Krishna?
That's based on Lord Krishna, and the musical style is a little different because the devotional songs are supposed to like ragas, which was like Sri Durga.
Right.
Those songs are based on ragas, but they're much lighter with a lot of words, a lot of lyrics.
Right.
So they're really songs, but devotional songs.
Right.
So I'll give you I'll give you a copy if you don't have one.
Oh, wow, that'd be great.
I have one in my bag,
That'd be great.
Cool.
So Sri Durga is supposed to be the sister of Lord Krishna, right?
Yeah, they're all related.
Right.
Yeah, they are.
So are you trying to do like a whole concept thing?
Kind of, but I mean, 6 Degrees called it like a trilogy because of the one in the middle was the remixes called Mahamaya.
Right.
So now the trilogy is done.
That's great.
We'll start another one, I guess.
So who was involved in the remixing of Sri Durga?
State of Bengal, TJ Remy, Bali Sagu, Fundamental, kind of the so-called South Asian underground in the UK.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. So you started in 1964 in Paris, right?
That's right, yeah. Makes me ancient, right?
Playing American soul music, or?
That's right.
That's great.
Yeah, that was the music, in clubs.
Right.
Dance music, yeah. I don't think there was any other kind of music that was club music.
Right.
Yeah. Short songs, 3.5 minutes,
They still like that today.
They still like that. Well, they don't say much, but that's why they're short.
Yeah, a lot shorter than the ragas.
Yeah.
So then you got involved in experimental theater, right?
Yeah, I'm actually more political than experimental, but the
right.
Living Theater was considered, pioneer in terms of what they did and how they started in 1947.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was the year of my birth, so... they started in their living room, and it was called Living Theater. And at that time, the two people that started it, Judith and Julian, they were involved with the New York 50s Bohemia, John Cage and Merce Cunningham and Allen Ginsberg, all the people that in those days, started to write, talk, act, smoke.
Right. Speaking of that, I was reading something about audience participation, LSD, and
Paradise Now.
What's that?
Paradise Now.
Is that what it is?
That was the play that, there was one production that was done in '68, and the premiere was in the middle of May '68, France.
Right.
So, and that was also because of the 60s, and there definitely a lot of people tripping.
Right.
Before, during, and after kind of thing. But actually in America was the place where, it was there were a lot more people tripping here than in Europe.
Right.
Europe was at that time very conservative towards, I'm talking about young people, towards experimenting with those kind of things. But in America was already all full blown.
Right.
So when Living Theater came here, a lot of the audience, there was no problem to take their clothes off. It was like, okay. So it was pretty wild when, you had performances when you have 3,000 people and that kind of, play. Because, it started with I'm Not Allowed. So people would go through the audience and, I'm not allowed to travel without a passport. I'm not allowed to smoke. I'm not allowed to do this. I'm not allowed to do that. And then at the end of this, each I'm not allowed, it was like a big freak out. And then the play would start proper. But actually the play was based on the Kabbalah and the I Ching.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, rites of passage, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't just like, oh, people take their clothes off and take acid.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, did they take the Living Theater over to America? To
Yeah,
San
actually.
Francisco?
Yeah. The Living Theater toured the U.S. in '68, '69.
Oh, okay.
And not that the Living Theater made that much money, but for those at that time, the tour grossed over $3 million. To give you an idea of, the capacity and how big the audiences were everywhere.
That's huge.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So you continued in theater. You stayed in San Francisco after the tour, or did you go back to Paris for a while? Or
I was in and out for the Living Theater for a few years. Then I was spinning in Paris in the 80s. Then went back to Living Theater, then came back to America, to San Francisco, and started a group called Tribal Warning Theater. And then that's when I started to do theater soundtracks by, I'm sorry. That was so hard to get that coffee, man. It's gone.
Oh, no. What was it?
Coffee. I'll get another one. Very simply, with a 4-track cassette, starting to assemble, soundtracks, and we became friends with Psychic TV.
Oh yeah, great.
And then we would open for them,
Oh really?
Yeah. But the soundtrack was as loud as them playing live.
Oh wow.
However, it was real theater with cues and projections, but that's when I started with really like applying DJ, whatever I knew, into theater.
So we were talking about Psychic TV, a band that's greatly influenced us.
Yeah, so we did quite a few shows, sold out in San Francisco, and then it became, difficult to not pay the actors and, do that kind of theater. So I went back to spinning because, you're by yourself and you don't have to depend or rely on anybody being late or
Right.
for rehearsal and all that. So then, I've been very fortunate to have this kind of, career as far as, spinning with producing music. And also when I started in San Francisco, at that time I was managing Don Cherry,
Right.
and we were friends for a long time. We actually did theater together. I did the theater, he did the music. And when I started, it was, very small, but he kept encouraging me to keep doing the kind of music I was doing. So I stayed with it, I guess, long enough, to see how it spread, and it's hard to tell where it will go.
Right.
But still, I think it has opened up a lot of, sounds, different cultures, different things, for this country and for Europe,
Right. You've worked with a lot of different musicians. You've worked with master musicians of Suzuka, the lead.
Bashir Attar, yeah.
Yeah. What was your involvement with him?
We just smoked a pipe and played.
Did you do a CD with him, or?
No, actually, they want me to produce their next album, but it is, at this point in time, there's no record label that can give the kind of money, and we're not talking about lots of money like some of albums being made, but still, it's like nobody has that kind of money or wants to, because it's pretty esoteric,
Right.
relatively speaking, of course, but compared to the music you hear that is produced with so much money and all that, the smaller label, if you ask them for $70,000 to be able to go to Morocco and record and come back and do all that, Nobody has that kind of money.
Right.
I mean, none of those kind of labels have that kind of money.
Right.
So, it might happen, it might not happen, I don't know.
They're actually supposed to be on tour right now in the
They
US.
canceled.
Yeah. Was that because of the visa situation?
No, it was one musician had some cancer problem,
Oh, really?
and they were looking for $3,500 so he could get surgery in Morocco. But while they were looking for the money, I don't know if they have found the money. It was right in the middle when the tour was going to start, so they canceled the tour. So that's pretty bad because you're not making the money from the tour, plus you need money for the surgery.
Yeah, they're actually they're struggling, aren't they, in their village?
Yeah.
Because I know Bashir had said that all the children now have to go to school, so they don't learn the music, and this is going to be the last generation of the master musicians.
Sadly, so yeah, could be. Yeah. But it's the same everywhere, really. You go to India and. Yeah, some people are practicing, but not the way they used to. Or, they go to school, they have jobs, or they buy a drum machine or some software, and,
Right.
So, yeah, that is common, yeah.
Because in India, the tradition is guru and student, so it's not written down or anything.
No, it's all,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Great. So what made you move to America?
Well, I had known America with the Living Theater. I first came here in 1968. But not having a country, it's like France or America. So America was one place. I've lived in France too. But America is, it's like an adoptive country for me, and it has been very good to me. However, there's always something missing wherever you are, that where you're not from.
Right.
But I think maybe because so many other people like me who are not from here, but some other find ways to be here without really too much hassle.
Right. What do you feel about the state America's in now after September 11th and the Bush administration and that whole nightmare?
I mean, I think they're all nightmares.
What's that?
I think every country has, an administration or a political nightmare.
Right.
So I think we need a general strike worldwide. Because without a general strike, it's going to be this clown, that clown.
Right.
I don't care what they say, what they are, what they not are. It's pretty much the same, And it's also, it's difficult because it's always 50-50 to me, It's not, well, this guy is really bad and then those guys are really good. No, I mean, power corrupts.
Right.
So absolute power corrupts absolutely, and every country is fucked.
Yeah.
And you can't just have one country where everything is suddenly okay, because they won't let that happen. So it's the whole planet or nothing at this point.
Right. There's no good and evil. There's lots of.
No, actually, there is good and evil. That's this realm.
Right.
And it's like, sacred, you're spiritual. No, it's not that. We have sacred and profane. We have good and evil. We have all those opposites. However, there's nobody in government that is 100% ethically concerned and worried because one person is not eating.
Right. Exactly.
So
they can't say we're the good guys and you're the bad guys. No, it's not.
If you find a place where everybody's eating, then you go, I will vote for this person. But I mean, I've never voted in my life as a choice. But I think if the Dalai Lama was, maybe I would vote for him because he seems to be talking about something that makes sense. Right. He talks about nonviolence. He talks about the communism that's never existed. Say communism is dead. Well, it's never existed. How can you say it's dead?
Right.
So in that kind of respect and interconnectedness, and where everything is shared, yeah. But then you don't even need to vote anymore.
Right.
Who needs to spend millions for this clown to say this much, and then more millions for that clown to say that much?
It's redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every country is, I'm afraid, it's like a big ad agency,
Right.
That's all it is.
And they all have them.
That's all it is. Like,
Right.
this is our latest star.
Right.
And that's the best one.
Yeah.
Best actor, best actress. So, yeah, I mean, what would the Democrat would have done if they were in power during September 11th?
I don't think anything different.
You have to show like some kind of responsibility or action, right?
Right.
So what do you do in those cases? I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in charge. I would never want to be in charge of like 300 million people. I mean, how can you do that? It's like I have a hard time just being in charge of myself. So,
Most of us do.
you see what I mean? So it's like, wow, man, you wake up every morning and go, wow, I have 300 million people waiting for me to do something
Right.
or say something. No, it's ridiculous. It's a farce.
No, and some of your albums that you've sampled like religious leaders, spirituality, and things like that. But what do you think about when it's taken to an extreme? Like I heard in a story, I think it was Cheb Khaled, and he said that somebody that he knew had been gunned down in Algeria by extremists because they don't appreciate like music.
So where's the question?
Well, I mean, how do you feel when something's taken to an extreme as far as religion, and where they try to tell you not to do this or not to do music or?
But that's always been around. You're always gonna have people say, don't do this, don't do that. Religious-wise, I don't know. It seems maybe only the Muslim are really uptight about music. Some Muslim, not all. But then you always have religion, but then you always have the mystical tradition that is from. So that's where we go. We go to the mystical traditions. We don't go to the, because actually, yeah, if you're Muslim and go to the actual tradition, then yeah, you can do music. But then you look at Sufi or Pakistan Qawwali, that's all they do is music. But in India, other places, music is not against the law. It's only Islam is very uptight, as a rule, it's very uptight. Sorry to say, but.
So, I guess back to the 60s. Did you ever run across Burroughs? Because there was some reference, William S. Burroughs?
Yeah. Burroughs, Brian Geisen, those are the people that, we worked with, we hang out with. Yeah, they were in and out of that same scene, including people like Bertolucci in those days, actors, filmmakers, because there was something then that was new, fresh, and some kind of, current that, was big. Was big. So then, yeah, everybody did their, whatever they were doing, pushing the envelope, as I say.
Yeah.
And, we collaborated here and there, or we hang out.
Yeah.
Or we went to see each other's shows, or hear the music, or, yeah.
And then like more into the 80s, you met up with Bill Laswell, or?
Yeah, because we were, we knew the same musicians, and when I asked him to play on the album, he was very generous. I didn't have money, but he was very generous in playing. And then he played on the second album, Krishna Lila, and in a very simple way, we're just good friends, and we're around the same kind of musicians or people. It's like the '60s. It's smaller now, it seems, but within the music scene and within the the Asian scene, which includes the young people like Talvin and Kirsch, and then the older musicians who are like the roots, the source, the tradition. And it was very beautiful that they're really going with it. They're giving their blessings, and they're being part of the scene too. So in that way, it's a small circle, but however, it's like a family kind of thing.
Great. Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little more about the Krishna album? Concepts and the musicians involved and what you did, because you traveled all over India, right?
Well, only 3 places, but I also wanted in that album to represent the South tradition called Carnatic music. So half of the album is the North, the other half is the South. So I went to Bombay and Madras first, and then later on went to Delhi to add some overdubs and stuff, and then lastly to New York with Kirsch, Kale, and Bill Laswell. And at the same time, I introduced some of the music totally untouched. It's like the musician, what they do without the producer. So I was trying to bring some taste of what that music is about, what those musicians do when I'm not around.
Right.
So it has like, modern, traditional, North and South. And that was the attempt was to present those different elements.
Wow. Very good. And lastly, do you want to tell us why you're here tonight? What the benefit's about and
it's called Ahimsa, which translates as non-violence. It includes non-violence to all living things. And these days, as we know, everybody's armed to the teeth, and nobody's talking about non-violence. And this charity through music is trying to reach people about non-violence. And it has done a few shows like tonight in the last 2 years. And tonight looks like it's the biggest so far. And trying to, awareness through music about non-violence.
Great. And so you're going to be back on New Year's Eve, back in LA?
New Year's Eve, at Zanzibar.
No, great.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we could talk to you again around that time or something.
Sure.
Do you guys have any questions?
I'll be around.
Where do you spin normally in the Bay Area?
In the Bay Area, I have a club date every Tuesday night for the past 13 years. And it's called Nikki's, a small place, like 150 people kind of. But it's more like we call it Tuesday night church. And then besides that, one of a kind shows here, there, benefits.
Is that part of the 1,002 nights or?
1,002 nights, yeah. That's when I produce live concerts.
Oh, great.
And then people invite me to do parties or, also inside and outside America. Here and there, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Wait
man.
for your performance.
Thank you. Yeah, stay in touch. You'll probably get an email when I play here.
What's that?
I say you'll probably get an email from me when I play here.
Oh, okay, great.
Because I think I put your address in the LA folder.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I already got the one promotional for this place.